Good evening, and welcome to another edition of The Dana Show on Uncensored Radio. What are we going to talk about tonight? I don't know. I'm tired. I had kind of a long day today. I folded a lot of letters. A lot of them. Anyway, let's work. Tonight, I'm going to try to do a half-hour show, and not focus too much on my random head-spinning ideas that kind of chase thoughts around in circles in my head. So, yeah, let's I've been thinking a lot about just how easy it is to interact with certain kinds of people. And I've got a list of common, you can call them toxic personality traits, dark personality traits, cluster B personality traits. There's a lot of categories that you can kind of throw them in. But I think a lot of these personality traits are indicative of a person that will not add value to your interactions, and how to identify some of those traits. I've got a little list here. I mean, obviously, it's not isolated to just these, but these are like the 8 big ones. So we'll start with manipulation. There's a lot to be said for people that manipulate people. There's the general the stigma that society gives people. The salesman, the car salesman, the snake oil salesman. They create situations where they feed off of your emotions, either creating fear or a sense of missing out, or a feeling like your own emotional state plays into a situation where they can take advantage of it. They basically look at you as a tool or a stepping stone to achieve their goals. It doesn't really matter how you actually feel, even though they're aware of it. For someone to be manipulative, they have to be aware of how you feel. They have to know what your feelings are, generally what will conjure your feelings, and they have to be willing to take advantage of that. There's a lot of different ways people can manipulate you. It's pretty easy to find out, to figure out if someone's being manipulative, or if they generally just need your help. An easy way to kind of keep an eye on that is by looking for patterns. Is a friend or somebody going through a really hard time? Do they genuinely need your help? Is there a difficult emotional situation that they're trying to deal with? Maybe they need your attention, maybe they need your validation, maybe they do need your... They might even be mean to you. I mean, they might go through something where they're just on edge, and maybe just interacting with you can remind them of something difficult they're going through. Might make it a little difficult for them to act the way they normally do. But it's easy to see if you end up giving more than you receive. Like, if over the long haul you end up feeling like you've been on the receiving end of a big pile of their emotional baggage, or they're using you as I don't know. Well, I mean, there's lots of different ways. I mean, they could be manipulating you financially. Maybe they keep taking money from you. I guess one of the big things is just recognizing patterns, recognizing patterns of inequity. Like if somebody, oh, say somebody continuously does something and it hurts your feelings, um, and you've made it aware to that person that it's hurting your feelings and they keep doing it anyway, there's a good chance you're being used, you're being manipulated. Uh, they're getting something out of the exchange or the interaction, and you're suffering an emotional toll for that. Um, but there's so many different ways people can be manipulated. But I think the easiest way to recognize it is that pattern. Over the long haul, if somebody has been taking advantage of you or using you for so many things, it doesn't have to be just money or for your things or for your time or getting you to cook or clean for them. That isn't usually what it's about. It's usually something more. Their personality is craving something from you, and they just have to take it without thought of what your feelings are going to be about it. Um, Next thing, judgmental. Um, Keep your eyes and ears open for criticism about you, what you've done, and what you didn't do. It's never about them, and they will lie if it serves them. Yeah, judgmental people, highly critical people. They usually have a really strong critic inside. They're probably just as critical to themselves as they are to other people. And when they can point out other people's shortcomings, it gives them a boost. Like, it makes them feel superior. It makes them feel like they're more worthy to themselves. It conjures an image to themselves that they're more um, responsible, or maybe they're better looking, or maybe they can cook better, or clean better, or maybe they can make more money. Maybe they're uh, I don't know. There's lots of different things, but people who are judgmental, or critical, it's usually a reflection of how fragile they are themselves. Highly critical people that'll follow you around the house, like nitpicking every little thing, pulling apart all the things that they would they would have liked to had. They build up expectations, and they'll tear you down if you don't make good on your end of what they imagine that you should be doing. Those kind of judgmental people are really hollow inside. They use the criticisms and that judgment to boost themselves up, to give them self esteem. They have a really hard time being alone in their own head. Um, there's a really empty emotional feeling with those kinds of people, and they have to criticize people and they have to be judgmental of people and cut them down just to give themselves enough self esteem to not hate themselves. Um, they were probably really criticized as children, held to high standards, and they feel pretty worthless. And they gain that sense of worth by criticizing other people, by pointing out their shortcomings that they don't feel like they have, that makes them feel value in themselves. It's really shallow. It's really sad. Those people are ugly to be around. It feels icky. It feels slimy when you go out in public and you try to have a conversation with a person like that. You can tell that it's not. It's just not a good. There's not an empathetic person in there. It's usually somebody really empty. Their opinions tend to be really superficial, really difficult to get into a philosophical conversation with these people because they just don't have that emotional depth. They're more looking at life like it's a competition, like you're. They're always keeping score and keeping track of like the people around them, and maintain a mental image of their head, of their superiority or their perceived superiority in their own mind, to give themselves value. Judgmental people suck, and don't let yourself fall into that trap thinking that you might be a judgmental person. Everybody slips, everybody picks on somebody sometimes, or has that quick thought in their head like, oh, look at that guy in his sweatpants. I mean, it happens. We by nature judge circumstances and situations as a survival mechanism, but I think there's a healthy amount of judgment and an unhealthy amount, and you can usually tell, just by how it feels to be around that kind of person. If you tend to be a more empathetic person, you go out in public and you hear some of the things they say, it can just sound cruel, or it could sound off base, like just something seems off about the type of conversation. It's not joking anymore, it just turns into being mean. But here we go. Here's another dark personality trait. They take no responsibility for their own feelings. Rather, their feelings are projected onto you. If you try to point out this to them, they will likely vehemently defend their perspective and take no responsibility for almost anything they do. That is, yeah, I think you've known this one. This is such an immature personality trait. It's like a child. It's almost counterintuitive. Like you don't expect adults to have this mindset, so it's like you almost can't. You don't see it as an immature emotional trait. It almost seems like your perception of it can be like gaslighting yourself. Like people are that immature. It's like a little kid that won't take responsibility for their feelings or their actions. Like if I let's say I feel jealous for some reason, and say I'm jealous of somebody's dinner, and am I going to say, oh man, my dinner is so awesome, it looks so much better than yours, I bet you're jealous of my dinner? Like they project that jealousy onto the other person, like I bet you wish you had this, as a way to feel better about their own feelings. And if you call them out on it, they'll dodge it. It's almost crazy making. Like they get really angry if you call somebody out on their inability to deal with their own stuff. Again, a lot of it's like that really inner that really intense inner critic that they have to project on other people to keep themselves feeling like they have value in themselves. There's usually a lot of like I'm the victim mentality. There's usually, and when I say I'm the victim, I mean they're always blaming somebody for their circumstances. They're always blaming somebody else for their feelings instead of themselves. Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm responsible for these feelings. I made them up. These are my feelings, and my behavior should reflect a more responsible thing." Like that's taking accountability, but a lot of these immature people, they just can't take that kind of personal responsibility for acknowledging that they have these feelings, and they put them on people. They blame people. And that's a good transition into our next trait here. A lack of apology. They don't apologize. They don't see any reason to, because things are always someone else's fault. In many instances, although they try to orchestrate relationships to serve their own ends, They try to gain sympathy and attention by claiming victim status. Um, Victim status basically meaning not like, woe is me, I'm sad. Like, that's not being a victim. I'm talking about, like, yeah, my life is really hard because this person, or my day sucked because of what this person did. Like, I'm having a good day today, even though this person was a real jerk and did this, or like, there's always somebody to blame for something. There's no apologies. Um, they won't. If you try to hold them accountable for something, you'll never get an apology. You'll get it twisted around. The manipulator. They like to. It's a form of gaslighting. They can go through and they can take somebody's. They can take somebody and, let's say I come to a person and I say, hey, you did this thing, it really bothered me. Instead of taking accountability and saying, oh, wow, or I didn't, that bothered you because I did this. Okay, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to do that. What, is there something I can do to make it up to you? Let me try to make it up to you. Like, make amends for what I did. Like, that's a healthy person taking accountability for something. Somebody that doesn't apologize will try to, they do something called blame shifting. If they say, hey, you did this thing, it made me upset, like it hurt my feelings that you did this, they'll be the victim. They'll say, that made you upset? Do you know why I did that? I did that because you did this. You made me do that to you. I had to do that because you did this and this and this and this. And I've been suffering with all these things that you've been doing to me. So I had to do that. I couldn't help it. And you walk away feeling, oh, jeez, I have to apologize. I'm the person that did the wrong thing. You didn't. That's a person just skirting accountability. It's a person who doesn't have enough value in themselves to take accountability for their actions and apologize for something. Um, though you'll know that person. There's always somebody else to blame. They'll blame you, they'll blame circumstances, they'll blame their childhood, they'll blame everything except saying, oh yeah, that's my fault. I'm sorry. Let me make it up to you. I hear that made you upset. What can I do to help make this better? They'll do anything but that because for some reason doing that makes them feel like they don't have any value in themselves. And uh, I don't know how to explain that. That's just, it just feels gross. You know, you'll if you've ever met somebody that does that, it's yucky. What have we got next? Oh, they are inconsistent. It's hard to know who you're with at any given time because they're often not the same person. They may change their perspective, attitude, and behavior depending on what they feel they need to accomplish or what they want to have happen. And they know how to be kind when they need to get something they want from you. Inconsistency. Yeah, you can see these people. It's like they can flip a switch to get something they want. Like, they can say the most cruel and demeaning things, the most cut right to the bone things to you. And then if somebody shows up, they can just flip a switch and be sweet as pie. Just, everything's great, nothing's going on, everything's awesome. You know, living the good life. We're all happy here. Right after they just cut a little piece of your heart out. Like, you never really know where you stand. You never know if they're going to try to be the positive person today. I'm going to be the bigger person. I'm just going to be a martyr of positivity. Or they're going to just be quiet and brooding and have some kind of secret thing in their head that they're going to punish you for later. You just never know. There's no consistency. There's no way to feel emotionally safe around this type of person because they tend to use your emotional state to feel superior. They keep you on edge. They keep you guessing. They keep you belittled. They lower your value in yourself so that you're easy to control. That inconsistency is intentional. Some of it might be their own emotional inconsistency. Somebody with such a low sense of self-worth really has a hard time being alone in their own head. So they create drama around themselves to get what they want, to serve their purposes. It sucks. So watch out for inconsistency. Like, you come to them one day and you say, hey, what's going on? And they're happy. Come to them the next day, hey, what's going on? And they bite your head off. Does that happen a lot? Everybody has a bad day, but is there a pattern? Always look for the patterns. There's usually a pattern. One of the hardest things is you run into, if you're a people pleaser or you're somebody who's come from like a rough childhood or had bad abusive relationships in the past, you are the easiest person for them to manipulate because you will take the blame yourself. You will take accountability for all the things that they blame you for because you assume that you don't have much value, and it probably is your fault because as a child you've been conditioned to feel these patterns. So as an adult, you're easily manipulated because of your low sense of self-worth. You will take accountability for all that person's projections. They will create a narrative of you in their head, and they will project that on you. And if you're an empathetic person or a person with maybe some codependent traits, you will take that on. You'll absorb that, and you'll feel that sense of low self-value that they project on you. You'll become that. That makes them feel good about themselves. Let's see. They make you prove yourself to them. Toxic people make you choose them over someone else, or something they want over something you want. Often, this turns into a divide and conquer dynamic in which the only choice is them, even to the point of requiring you to cut off other meaningful relationships to satisfy them. Maybe you have a friend that you act goofy around, and they don't like that you have that bond with them. They decide that when you get together with that person, you're annoying. I don't like it when you're with that person. You say annoying things. You say mean things. I don't like the way you act around that person. I wish you didn't hang around them. They'll divide you from things you love. And it can be really indirect. It can be really sneaky. They'll maybe even encourage you to do your hobbies or something that you really like, but then immediately turn around and criticize you for not doing this and not doing that and not doing the other thing, basically teaching you that you're so inferior at keeping up at meeting their expectations that you can't have time to do the things that you love because you're not meeting all these other expectations they have for you. You have to prove yourself. You have to constantly be, it's what have you done for me lately? Like, if you get boring, toxic people get bored really easy because they need that constant stimulation to keep them out of their own head, to keep them from thinking about their own feelings and diving into what makes them tick. They don't want that. So they get bored easy. They need to constantly be stimulated. So they're constantly churning up the pot. They always have 100 things on the burner. They always need to do things that entertain them and keep them in a happy mood so that they can dodge their own negative emotions and their own negative circumstances. They'll make you choose scenarios, and then they'll reward you with things that are really for them. It's gross. If you've ever seen somebody do this, they'll create a situation where they'll say, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could go out to dinner and see a movie?" And in your head, you're like, "Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind just staying in here and having a frozen pizza and watching a movie. That would be nice for me." Um, and then yeah, but we never do anything together. We don't have date nights. We need to have a date night. I want to do this and this. We really should save money. No, I want. Okay, and then if you push and you don't give them what they want and you end up staying home and watching TV, you'll sit there and see eye rolling and sighs, and the silent treatment is because they want to punish you for not giving them what they wanted. If you didn't choose what they wanted, just like a child holding their breath, they will punish you for making them suffer through what you like instead of giving them what they want. Um, and then if you do go along with it, and let's say you do go out to dinner and you're not really having a good time because you made it clear in the beginning that you didn't want to do that thing, they'll punish you for that too. You can't let me have anything nice. You ruin our time together. You ruin my chances to have a good time when we're out together. So there's no way to win with these people. You can't please them, and they crave that drama constantly because again it helps them feel superior about who they are. Um, let's see. They make you defend yourself. They have difficulty staying on point about certain issues, probably because they're not interested in your point of view or trying to reach an amicable conclusion. Remember, they are supreme manipulators. Their tactics may include being vague and arbitrary, as well as diverting the focus of the discussion to how you're discussing an issue, your tone, your words. They focus on problems, not solutions. Um, Anytime you make a point in a discussion, like a good thing I do is when I have a discussion with somebody, unless I'm talking about a fact, like something that can clearly be argued to be true or false, if we're just talking about differences in opinions, I'm conflict avoidant. I will avoid conflict at all cost because there's no point. Conflict makes people uncomfortable. It creates bad feelings between people. It's just difficult. So when you talk about conflict, um, there's a lot of dodging that can happen. Um, when you're in a discussion with this type of person, there's never an intent to understand the other person's perspective. There's never an intent to um, to come to an end where you both understand more about each other and you've kind of bonded over the discussion. Toxic people only debate or argue to win. And they'll use really kind of sinister things to win arguments. Um, if you start to make valid points that support your side in the argument, they may criticize you for the tone that you're using. Or if you start to like if you're making a valid point towards standing up for something that you particularly believe in, they'll criticize you as a person for even having that perspective rather than try to understand you for having that perspective. The point is to always knock you down and raise themselves up. It's again not to reach an amicable conclusion, but to always be a winner and devalue your opinion. And if your opinion starts to show value, it'll shift on to a different topic along the same vein of the discussion so that they can devalue you on that topic. rather than staying on track with what the original discussion was even about. It becomes a game about shifting focus to anything that they can find within the conversation that they can use to devalue you, instead of trying to come up with um, an amicable endpoint where you both see value in each other. Um, let's see. And number, oh, we're getting, let's see. Oh, I might even make it close to a half an hour. Now we're on number 8 now. This is the last one. They're not caring, supportive, or interested in what's important to you. In fact, the good things that happen to you move the attention away from them and thwart them from focusing on their own goals. Beware of people who find fault with you for making and who find fault with you and make you wrong. Loyalty is foreign to them. Um, let's see. Toxic people often make you want to fix them and their problems. They make you want to feel sorry for them or responsible for their feelings. Yet their problems are never solved by anything you do, and once you've helped them with one crisis, there's inevitably another one. Um, the constant shifting of crazy. It's that I can't be alone with my own thoughts in my head, so I need to constantly create this shitstorm of events around me to uh, not focus on what's inside me, to not pay attention to what's inside my head. Um, these are just, I mean, these traits come from, this is just from a Psychology Today article. It's the 8 traits, the 8 traits the most toxic people in your life share. So this could be anybody. I mean, it could be a mother, it could be a father, it could be a spouse, it could even be a child, a neighbor, a friend. But all of these traits tend to be the same, and they all point to a person who's intensely emotionally fragile and emotionally immature. A person that can't see things from another person's perspective. They tend to lens things through their own eye. And it ends up being a situation where there's never going to be an understanding, because they don't want to understand you. They want you to understand them, and that's what's important. And when they think they understand you, it's a shallow understanding. It's a really superficial understanding. Any information they're going to take from you, they're going to take as a way to use it against you in the future. Again, back to that manipulation. If you say something and maybe you change your mind on it later, they'll throw that in your face. It's always a way to, it's constantly a shifting of devalue you so I can have more value in myself. Create a lot of drama so I don't have to be alone with myself. Have a lot going on in my life, have a lot of things on the fire, multitasking like crazy because I can't handle the quiet times in my own head. Being quiet and being still is boring and disgusts me rather than is peaceful and is nice. When somebody can't handle that quiet alone time with themselves, it's usually a good indicator that there's something ugly in there that they just aren't willing to process. Something immature, something childish. It's okay to be friends with these kind of people. I think the most important thing is to just be able to set boundaries. They may not be a bad person. It's like a person who's let a muscle atrophy. Maybe their emotional muscle for empathy just doesn't work. Doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. It makes them a difficult person to be around for extended periods of time. But being able to set healthy boundaries and identify the different dark personality traits that a person can really do a lot to help you have compassion for those people, because That's really what they need. They probably ended up that way because they really didn't get empathy or didn't get compassion from their parents when they were growing up. It's just sad. And they just keep inflicting it on other people because it was done to them and they feel like that's normal. And our society really kind of encourages that level of manipulation. I mean, capitalism in general, like our whole like society's hierarchy is unfortunately really geared towards people that manipulate. Like it's those dark personality traits are really learning how to shine in today's culture. So those are just some fun ones that I picked. I guess I should have done a little bit more uh, preparing ahead of time, but um, I hope maybe somebody got something out of this. I hope you appreciate, or maybe you learned a little something. Maybe you can recognize somebody in your own life, like somebody at work that is always blaming somebody else or using somebody who's kind to do extra work for them, or uh, taking the focus off of their inability to do a part of their job by calling out other people in the workforce that they feel aren't doing a good enough job at their job. Like the tattletale people, like, oh, look at that person. They're over there talking to that person. They're not doing their job. They never answer their emails. They don't answer their phone. Look at them. Not me. They're, ugh. Anyway, whatever. Um, yeah, or it can be at home. It could be, yeah. Um, so what do you think? I didn't get any comments today. I guess maybe I didn't have many people watching or something. I don't know. But if if you like this kind of content and you see value in it, um, like it or subscribe or do something. I don't know. All right. Well, I'm gonna go to bed because I'm crazy tired and I'm starting to ramble now. My goodbyes get weird because they just kind of trail off into like some kind of cyclical goodbye loop where it doesn't end. So I'm gonna end it now, and we're gonna have a good night. And you guys